Activate core key energy in physical activity. This video series is tennis serve mechanics. We're exploring the hips and how the hips actually affect your overall game, your ability to move with force, and your separation in your serve. How that affects your serve, and then how do you engage the hips during the serve. So understanding the hip placement matters to engage your force, moving in all parts of the tennis serve, playing game even. So the first thing is, let's understand the value of the hips is it sets all motion in action. If your hips are out of place, like you tilt too much, you can feel the resistance. Most people, when they're just standing naturally, the hips have an arch around the coccyx area, around the tailbone area. So your spine goes like this and it curves out. That's what most people. When that happens, the lower core, that's down here, for the core has an upper core and a lower, and your lower core is disengaged, therefore your strength is disengaged, and if you try to accentuate movement, you actually use your shoulders more, not your core. This whole program, that's what I teach, how to use the core with breath for your movement to make it fluid, not your shoulder. Here's a rule. If you don't use your core, you use your shoulders. That's it. Shoulders will always limit range of motion, and you can hurt yourself if you exert your range of motion too far. You will pull it. So, first thing you want to do is to test what I say. Everything I show you, I want you to go very slow because I'm going to try to change one sensation you're doing now to a new sensation. Your mind has to take time to be aware of what your body is doing, what's your range of motion, what's the pressure in different areas during the serve or movement. So the first thing I want you to try is, without your tipping your hips forward or anything like you normally do, okay, and then I want you to slowly get your hand ready to serve, go up slowly. Feel across your chest. Feel how does it work. And go up a little higher, and then like higher, and feel where, where's the pressure? Cross here, and how's your legs feel? That's it. And then when you, even with the arch there coming around to hit, feel how your shoulders rotation and what's your shoulder up here. You notice you start using your shoulders will be tighter. Again, if you don't use the lower core here, you're going to use up here as your main force. That's 55% of your force will come from your shoulder or more than from your core. Depends on your overall conditioning. And you don't want that. It limits range of motion. That's the key element there. So now that's one sensation. Now the new sensation. I want you to test. Tip your hips slightly forward. Push your belly button out a little to inhale. Out and down at a 45. So this area here is pushing out. As this goes out, this area back here, the glutes come up. So you pull them up a little bit. It's just sort of natural. And then your back expands naturally when you do this effectively. Like that. Now, in this, pause. Squeeze your glutes up, raise your hand up, and you'll feel your shoulders can be soft. There's no resistance in your upper shoulder. It's soft. So even with your serve, you can come around better when it's down here. The best example, if you watch, especially female gymnastics, when they take a run across the mat or on the beam, watch how they reset their hips before they do it. Take a deep breath, like that, with their hips in line. Then they go do the routine. If they don't reset those hips, they can't do it. Because it links the whole body together then when you do this effectively, you connect with the lower core. So on the breathing side, you push your belly button out at a 45, like this, and then your back will expand. That expands the lungs outward this way, and this glutes. So you got three actions. One, up, and the back comes up. That way your back is straight. Two, when your hips are tilted like this, you're actually trying to throw yourself forward. You'll find people, when they do this right, it's like you tilt like this, you're like this. But if you slowly move your hips straight ahead, you want to come up and stand up straight. Now you can use the lower core. This way you can use it, it actually overemphasizes the upper core and your shoulder gets tight. The whole process of this whole tennis serve mechanics is to have fluid shoulders. Here's the rule. The more you use your shoulders, less your core. The more you engage the core, the more fluid your shoulders can be. When the shoulders are fluid, your movement is better, less resistance, less chance of injury. So understanding how to set your hips is a key element in your tennis serve and keeping your game going. Because if you energize through us here, your movement with your legs will be much more dynamic. Range, force. In fact, if you look at the young players, they have to, because you're stretching their legs out, so they cannot have an arch around their coccyx area, around this lower part down through here. But most people, they have an arch you can put and then it goes out. When you do this, it's more straight. So it's like the tailbone, everything up straight. That's the goal for greater, softer shoulders, more fluidity and range. Now, try that there. Here, go. First tip your hips, breathe, put your butt up, and now raise your hand and you'll see your shoulders. You can just drop them down. You have to practice on releasing the shoulders to be fluid. And feel the ball in your hands. That's the other part. Feel the ball in your hands. That's the key to throwing. So the more you feel the ball in your hands throwing the ball up, the softer your shoulder is going to be. But not engaging the shoulders is the key element for a great serve and a great tennis ability, and less chance of injury. Okay, the next thing I'm just going to comment on is the forward arms hitting and how. But you got to have this. You can test it. When you have an arch and do it, go through and see how there's very little separation between shoulder and hip. But tip your hip side forward, and your separation, you can reach out further, and your hips can be here, and yet your reach around can be greater. So understanding having your pelvis in alignment with your lower coccyx and your tailbone gives your hips more range, plus breathing from down here to expand the chest. It's greater breath range. And so when you exhale, you're pulling your belly button in, the glutes go down, and the back if you want to say that, back collapses, but your chest goes forward. As you exhale, pull it in, and your chest is more dynamic and your shoulders will be straight across more. Not having this is a key element in your game if you really want to be good and not hurt yourself. These are just little tidbits, but it all begins with the hips. When you look at my other video, tennis serve mechanic exploration of the crisscross action, how to increase the rotation of shoulders. That's a whole nother area. So this is just dealing with hips, the value of the hips, but I want you to do it slow so you can feel differences. You know, this makes it with the arch, your shoulders are tighter, you have less range. With this pelvis like this, breathe out here, glutes tight, slightly snug, tight. You can feel it through your whole body when you move back and forth. These are just little clues of restructuring your mechanics for your tennis serve that enhances your fluidity and your transfer of force from your core through up, using just your basically whole body to bring force to your hands. So that way the hands come in. I'm the only one I could think of that you can have any grip you want. I don't care. But how do you do the finger ergonomics of the fingers in that grip matters to me. Not the grip itself. You're going to have different forms of moving, put your racket in different places. But how you move your fingers will be able to transfer the force from the body into the hands and then you amplify it. That's the key element. So rotation of shoulders, the push-pull, always remember, and use this finger only. Pull back with that. It's just like pull back and hit, or if you get really good, when this move goes back, this hand's going forward at the same time. You get like that. The faster you want to move the rotation is as fast as you want to pull this hand in. The left hand determines if you want the speed of the right hand. That's a whole higher level technique. But you get that down, but the number one root is set your hips in position before you play. So if you get down here to serve, tip hips slightly forward, inhale a little bit, then go down. That way you're bending at the hip flexors, not at the back. So when you come up, your back is straight, and then you hit your shoulder. But if otherwise you go down there and you arch your back, it inherently makes the shoulders tight. And the last thing you want is those shoulders to be tight, because that limits range of motion, limits strength to your hands and feet. Understanding the whole idea is transfer the core force to feet, hands, and head. That's the way you want it. So anyway, this is Scott, the breathing guy. This is tennis serve mechanics to enhance, explore the different parts, 3 areas of the body. That's lower body, upper body, and hands in the serve, and what can produce the most dynamic range of ability in your serve.